Alright, welcome everyone. We're back again. The Puck Buddy Podcast is here, getting you guys ready for your fantasy playoffs that should be coming up real soon. If not, they're starting right now. Ours start next week for week 21.
Playoffs?
Yeah, the playoffs, and they'll last till week 23. So we're getting you ready for those. Hopefully, you guys are on track to make it, and hopefully, we can give you some information here for you that'll get you to where you need to be.
We want some PBP championships.
Heck yeah, we want buddies. We want some buddies to win some championships, and one of the buddies, hopefully, one of us wins. Probably Bo.
Hopefully
Cam and I are scrambling in the playoffs, stumbling, bumbling.
Just got to make it in.
In case anybody can't hear me, they can't hear me, Eddie and Bo. For everybody that's listening, we have a little jank setup going on today. We have headphones from a phone, which I am talking through a few towns away. So if they and I speak over each other, we apologize, but we'll try our best not to do so. But go ahead, Eddie.
Yes, very good. That is the situation we're in. We're trying new things with the podcast. Hopefully the audio will come in clear this time, because last time it was pretty awful. Some people's ears probably bled from that, so we apologize.
I know mine did while I was recording it. So.
But once again, we have everyone here. We got Bo to my left.
Hello.
And we got Cam a few towns over, like he said. And then, of course, myself. And I'm a little under the weather, so hopefully we can grin and bear it.
And what's your name?
My name is Eddie, more rad than all of you. And also more bad than all of you, because I'm lower in the standings compared to you guys. But yeah, so enough of us. We're going to start jumping right into the news. This week there was a meeting between all the GMs to see if they wanted to change any of the rules in the NHL. But no major changes actually happened. I know they were talking about taking away the extra point for the loser in OT.
Stupid.
I don't like that rule. They were also talking about changing the offside rule to making it where it's like football, where you could just be on the plane. You didn't have to, you could have like 1 foot over, 1 foot back, or just be like on the line. But they didn't change that. That's too much. They also said that if they did change the rule to that, there would only be 9 goals that would have to be re-allowed from that. So that's not that many. The refs do a good job of finding the offsides, of calling it, and So Cam, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, just real quick. The one, I guess, minor note of change that they did decide upon would be more for an audience standpoint, but when there is a challenge or goal review and there is some discussion up with Vancouver or Toronto, wherever they're looking at the video replay, there will no longer be a large discussion between the refs. So they're going to send it up, have an official call, and then just point to the goal and have a face-off. So no longer will you have these 20-minute delays in games when they're trying to discuss if it's offside or not, or if the goal went in, goalie interference, or what have you. So that's nice. But like Eddie said, not a huge change for the rules.
Yeah, I do like that because it takes the momentum away from the game. It really hampers the flow of the game. So yeah, I'm glad that they're just gonna make their best judgment calls. So they're
giving all the power in the hand of Toronto, or
yeah, I think when there is a review, they're gonna have the team that does those reviews separately, and then just make the call. Boom, face off.
That's fair. I think that's easier. Makes it easier for the refs, less scrutiny towards them.
Exactly. It's no longer their fault, They send it up to somebody else and they just drop the puck.
Exactly. So instead of firing a ref, you fire someone in Toronto.
Yay!
Yes.
Keep American jobs!
Keep American jobs! All right. Well, that was, that's pretty interesting, actually. But moving right along to the NHL 3 Stars of the Week. This week, we got Carey Price back up in there as the number 3 star with a 3-0-0 record, a .66 goals against average, and a .974 save percentage. For those of you who thought, where is Carey Price going? Why is he so bad? Is he a league average goalie now? They're probably eating their words because he is back to elite form, and the Canadians are doing really well when Price is doing well. So it's good to see them surging in the standings and getting some wins. Hopefully, they'll probably for sure make playoffs, and it'll be good to see what he can do there for them. Next on the list, we got another goalie. We got Sergei Bobrovsky. He did 2-0-1 this past week with a .33 goals against average and a .989 save percentage, with 2 shutouts included in there. That's amazing. I did not know that.
One thing to add to that, he, since this is, we're on to the next week right now, he got another shutout. So he's currently riding
Holy
a
crap.
3 shutout game streak, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So start your Bob.
Start your Bob. I don't know if anyone's not starting your Bob. My Bob. Our Bob. But yeah, Bob has been killing it. The first star of the week was Nikita Kucherov, back online with 9 points in 4 games. That's pretty unreal.
Oh, lordy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Nikita Kucherov I'm used to. Maybe not that ridiculous, but he's definitely a point producer, and he's just making up for lost time now because Tampa Bay was not doing too hot previously, but they've actually been catching up in the standings, especially with Florida and Islanders doing really terribly recently. They are cold, and Tampa's hot, and we'll see what happens from there. It's a very tight race in the Atlantic, so we'll see. And
Keeping it close.
yeah, so for now, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Bo. He's going to go through a couple more trades with us, and this one I really like.
Yeah, so we're going to go through some trades that occurred at last week's deadline, but we're going to do more of the major ones. The little ones we don't want to get into as much because they don't have as much of a fantasy impact, which is what we're here to provide you with.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get right off to the first one that I know us as Sharks fans really enjoyed, and that was Jannik Hansen being traded to the Sharks and from the Vancouver Canucks, and the Canucks received prospect Nikolai Goldobin and a 4th-round conditional pick in 2017 that could be a first-round pick if the Sharks win the Stanley Cup, which is something we all wish will actually
I
happen.
would
So
love that.
I'll give up
I would
all
give them
of
for
all of our
for
picks in the
10
next draft
years.
for a Stanley Cup.
yeah, so this is one of the few times you'll ever hear of a Vancouver fan rooting for the Sharks. So thank you, Vancouver.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the impact of this trade. First, we'll look at the NHL perspective. Obviously, the Sharks get more depth with Hansen there, and the Canucks are showing that they're rebuilding towards the future with getting a prospect like Goldobin and also getting a solid conditional pick that could be very good for them if the Sharks were to win.
Mm-hmm.
But the fantasy impact is what we're really here for. So what would you guys say? I mean, honestly, I don't think there's as much of an impact unless you see Hansen with the Joes. What do you think, Cam?
He is with the Joes. That's been confirmed for Thursday's game. But I don't see Hansen being worth owning yet. I want to see how he does because the Joes have played with, I think it's 9 different players on that top line this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Donskoy, Carlson, LeBanc, Marlowe, Couture, etc. Hurdle. You got all those players, and none of them are constant. So for me, Hansen can just as easily be down in the 3rd line with Ward and Hurdle and be just as effective. So until he gets power play time, which he might, because the Sharks need to change something up. If he gets power play time and remains on that first unit or on that first line, then I would definitely consider picking him up. So I'll keep you guys posted, but obviously it's too late in the year to really have a huge difference. So for me, this is more of a looking into the future. If because he has going to be here for one more year, if he is going to be on that top line and on the top power play unit or something like that, that's something to look forward to. Into next year.
Definitely. So this is we'll call this a wait and see kind of player right now. So hopefully he has a good impact on the Sharks' future. We would like that.
Yeah.
All right. The next trade that we want to look into is one made between the Florida Panthers and the Detroit Red Wings, and that was for Thomas Vanek. So recently Vanek was shipped to the Florida Panthers, and Detroit received a prospect as well as a 3rd-round pick in 2017. So right off the bat, this just shows that the Panthers are looking to acquire a top 6 forward, and that the Red Wings have pretty much given up their playoff hopes and keeping their streak going, and are pretty much committing to a full-on rebuild. So, I mean, that's kind of the NHL impact. But for fantasy-wise, Vanek, he's a solid goal scorer, and now that he's being paired with Trocheck and Marchessault, that makes a pretty solid line in Florida. I see all of their value, increasing, definitely. As Vanek is that pure scorer. He's someone who can put the puck in the net on the regular. So all three of those players, Trocheck, Marchessault, Vanek, definitely an increase in their fantasy value.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we have Jerome Iginla getting traded to the LA Kings.
Why, Jerome?
Yeah.
Why? Not the Kings.
I don't know what he was thinking, because honestly, he's a player that wants to win the Stanley Cup. That's pretty much what his career is set on at this point. And the Kings are one of the furthest teams from a playoff spot at the moment, in terms of the competitive ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the team he was on before is pretty far back there. But yeah, competitively, yes, they are pretty far back. But with the acquisition of Bishop and now Iginla, and they're trying, and it could happen,
I mean,
He
Iginla had a
immediately
list
he has
of
some good
teams.
value just being already on the top line. So
Yeah, it definitely helps. Cam, what do you think about this trade? You see any fantasy impact with Iginla there?
Well, as of right now, no. I don't think he's worth owning at this point. I think he still has a great shot, so depending on Kopitar's ability to get him the puck, we may see an increase in his production. But honestly, I think that Iginla had a list of teams that he was okay being traded to, that he gave to the GM in Colorado, and I think that the Kings are the only ones that really gave him an offer. So I don't know if this is as much as his ideal situation to win a cup, as much as it is like taking what he can get, But no, I don't think he's valuable enough to pick up at this point. I really don't.
You definitely make a good point with that being like the only value that they could receive. I mean, even a fourth round conditional pick for Iginla is not as high as you would expect. But yeah, I mean, you got to get what you can get for him at this point. All right, let's look at the final major trade that we saw at this trade deadline, and that was pretty much the shipping of Mark Streit all around the world. So I'll kind of take this step by step. First of all, Mark Streit was on the Flyers, and then he got traded to the Lightning, and the Flyers received Valtteri Filppula, a 4th round in 2017, and a 7th round conditional pick in 2017. So that's some good, that's some good trade bait for the Flyers right there. The Lightning only received Mark Streit at that point, so who knows what they did then. And then they shipped him to the Penguins, only to receive a 4th rounder in 2018. So they actually lost picks and a player to trade for Mark Streit. Mark Streit. So honestly, that trade kind of confused me from the Lightning's standpoint. But I mean, the Flyers got a top 6 forward. The Penguins got a strong offensive defenseman, which they need at this point with all their injuries at defense. So I mean, definitely better for Penguins and Flyers. Lightning, question mark, really big question mark. But let's look at the fantasy impact. So I would say that actually before the fantasy impact, let's look a little more into the NHL impact. Cam, how do you feel about this? Do you have a little more insight?
Well, I just have a theory as to why the Lightning did this little switcheroo with Streit, and I know that they were having difficulty meeting the cap restrictions for next year. So I'm wondering, is getting rid of Filppula and a few of their picks just for that 4th round in 2018 allows them to remain under the cap level, for next year. So I think it may have been a GM juggling of assets to make sure that they're not over the limit for next year.
That's true. They have to re-sign some key players. I believe some of the triplets need a new contract, so that's important. And definitely in terms of getting a 2018 pick instead of a 2017, that's probably more beneficial because the draft this year is not looking as promising. So yeah, definitely I can see how the cap space was a huge decision in that trade for Steve Yzerman, and in terms of getting Streit, moving him along was huge for the Flyers as well as Penguins receiving a top defenseman. So those are more of the NHL impacts of the trade, but the fantasy wise, who I see has the most value is Mark Streit, definitely. Right now with the Pittsburgh Penguins missing Trevor Daley, Oli Mata, and Chris Letang, they need any defenseman they can get, especially one with offensive prowess like Streit has. I think he could definitely do some damage on that high-powered Pittsburgh offense.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of Filppula, I think he also gets a boost in value.
Mm-hmm.
He, on the Lightning, he was a decent player, but his impact was kind of fading. He wasn't as strong as he was earlier when he joined that team. But now that he's centered between Shen and Voracek, those are two good line mates. So
yeah, he basically went from a bottom 6 forward to a top 6 forward with the trade. So definitely a boost in his value.
Yeah, and to a team that has a pretty, a really good offense and an even better power play.
Mm-hmm.
I can see, his value going up a little bit, but is he worth owning? That remains to be seen at this point. So I wouldn't pick up Filppula, but if Streit's on your waiver wire, I mean, we'll talk about that a little later, but he's a sneaky pick.
Mm-hmm.
So that wraps up all the trades that we wanted to mention. Let's move on into the injuries. You want to step away with that, Cam?
Yeah, why don't I mention just a couple injuries. We have a few that are remaining, but I think Eddie's laughing.
I saw your injury report now.
let me go over it. So I'm going to start off with Bobby Ryan from the Senators. I mentioned him last week. He's still out with a broken finger after blocking a shot on February 19th against the Maple Leafs. He is projected to be out a month as of the 19th, so the return date is set for sometime in early April. We got Michael Grabner, who is out. He received a wicked hip check, as it's described by his coach, and a hip injury in practice on March 1st. He is still day-to-day, but is close to returning. Let's see, we got Kyle Turris here, out with a finger injury on March 8th, which is actually today, the day we're recording. He'll probably be back in the next couple of days. They just wanted to keep him out for precautionary reasons. Kyle Poso, here's where Eddie laughed out, and here's where it happens. He's suffered a rib injury on March 2nd.
My birthday.
Week to week. I'm sorry, Eddie. And the reason that I'm sorry, not only is his birthday, but I traded him with Poso, and he gets injured. The next player, Alexander Radulov, out with a lower body injury since March 4th, and he still isn't practicing, which isn't a good sign. Sorry, Eddie.
2 days after my birthday.
And he also has Radulov. And Chris Letang from the Penguins, considered week to week after an upper body injury on February 21st. Sorry, Eddie, again. Chris Letang is also on his team. And I'm going to move down to a goalie real quick. Roberto Luongo, injured on March 2nd. It was initially considered day-to-day. However, on March 8th, he attempted a brief workout and, quote, didn't feel great afterwards. The Panthers have extended his recovery date to week. I am so sorry, Eddie. Also on his team.
Oh, my birthday!
Let me finish 2 more injuries. Johnny Boychuk, he suffered a foot injury on March 3rd and has missed 3 straight games. He's considered day-to-day. And lastly, goalie John Gibson was placed on IR as of Saturday, February 25th, with a lower body muscle strain. And he still hasn't practiced as of yesterday, March 7th, so that is not a good sign for the Ducks. Now, notable comebacks from injury, I just have 5. We got Mitch Marner. He returned to action against the Sharks on February 28th. He wasn't out for too long. Matt Niskanen only missed 2 games with a lower body injury. He was back as of February 28th. TJ Oshie returned from upper body injury on March 4th, and boy, did he ever have a highlight goal in his return. Yeah. You guys need to watch that. Robin Lehner went through concussion protocols on February 26th, but was cleared to play 2 days later. He's no worse for the wear, and he could be on your waiver wire. And lastly, big Jimmy John's Jimmy Howard is back, baby. After a short stint in the AHL where he stopped 52 of 54 shots, Jimmy will be rejoining the team as soon as March 10th. And that does it for our injuries.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks, Cam.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was a good waiver wire. Or a good injury section, I'm sorry.
It's even better for you, Eddie.
I know. I really was glad Cam went through that.
Yeah. So we didn't have to listen to all your tears and
my sniffling.
yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for that. Let's move right in. Are you guys a little hungry right now?
So hungry.
Yeah, why? What's up?
Yeah, we got some waivers rancheros for you.
Tal vez no sea el mejor de los cocineros, pero te aseguro que vas a extrañar mis huevos rancheros.
Come on down. Ay, 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 ay. All right. I guess I'll start it off for the waivers
really
rancheros.
quick, guys. Really quick. I don't know if you guys know this, but we probably aren't going to be able to use this after the wall goes up.
Aww. But
I'm
Mexico's
sorry,
paying for it, as they are paying for my waivers rancheros.
Yes, we are being sponsored.
Yeah. The country of Mexico. All right, well, I'll start it off for you guys. Don't be so serious with my pick, Connor Sheary. Left wing, right wing eligible, 44% owned. He's been in our waiver sections before. I just want to reiterate this because he just came back from an injury. This 24-year-old has actually been thriving with Sidney Crosby when he's been playing, and who wouldn't really, But he's put up 37 points in 44 games this season. That's a .84 point per game pace. Upon his return on March 3rd, he was held pointless. That would probably be due to his limited ice time they assigned him, since he was coming back from an injury. But the very next game, he put up a goal and an assist. So currently, he actually sits at a point per game pace with 2 points in 2 games. The main concern for Sheary is his health. If he can remain healthy, his floor can be a comfortable 65-point pace with the upside of a 70 to 75-point pace, which is very nice. Mike Sullivan really likes to put Crosby with the younger skilled players instead of the bigger, grittier players like Kunitz and them. Kunitz has cycled into the top line, but since Sheary's come back and Gensel's been there, he's actually been putting Sheary with Crosby, and they've just been paired together when he's healthy. So if Sheary's to remain on that top line, which he has been, that's pretty much an easy add for anyone. The upside being on Crosby's line and also on the second power play unit. So that's my pick for this week in that position. You want me to just go through all the rest of mine?
Yeah.
All right.
Get him, got him good.
All right. I get him, got him, knock him out. The next pick I got is one that I talked about before with Tanner Pearson. He's 29% owned still, and he's left wing eligible only. But in his last 5 games, Pearson has 6 points, 3 goals, and 3 assists, including 1 power play point, 16 shots on goal, and 9 hits in that span. As the season progresses, Pearson has only gotten better and better. As in the first quarter, he only had a .5 point per game pace. Then he moved to a .6 point per game pace. And finally, in this third quarter, he's been hitting the .75 point per game pace, which is really awesome, and he just keeps going up and up. In the last 10 games, almost 45% of all even strength scoring came from Pearson when he was paired on the 70s line with Carter and Toffoli. And when that line is healthy, they're pretty much unstoppable for the Kings. They are their main scoring asset. You'll certainly want a piece of that pie, and Toffoli and Carter are probably owned in your league. They're very highly owned. But with Pearson only being 29% owned, you could definitely pick up a piece of that pie with him. And if the Kings want to make playoffs, they're probably going to be riding that 70s line. So look for Pearson on your waiver, and hopefully you can get some starts out of him soon.
Definitely. I would want to input one thing. I would even say that Pearson's playing better than Toffoli right now, even though Toffoli's higher owned.
Yeah, I saw that. Doesn't he have 2 points in the same span or something?
Yeah, and Toffoli has been struggling compared to Pearson, who's been producing not only points-wise, but he also gets you peripheral stats as well.
Which is nice, yeah.
Which is something that, Toffoli doesn't give you.
Right. Toffoli is a pure sniper, pure goal scorer. Pearson can do a little of everything, which is nice. The last forward on my waivers rancheros that I'm just topping off for you guys is Jason Spezza.
Like that meme guy.
What?
You're just dropping him like that meme chef.
I know. Salt Bay.
Just sprinkle a little Spezza on that.
Definitely sprinkling a little Spezza on your waivers rancheros today, boys. So We got a center right wing eligible player, 62% owned. He's been on and off the waiver section throughout the year, mostly off because Dallas has not been good. He's been in the bottom 6. He's been in the second line. Hasn't been producing as much as he should because of all the injuries, but recently he had a promotion to the top line with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, so this should warrant some more ownership. Since being put on that top line, Spezza has 5 points in his last 4 games, as opposed to his previous 5 where he only managed 2. I could give you all the stats and peripherals on Spezza and warn you about Dallas's abysmal season, but the fact remains, if you're on the line with the two of the most productive players in the NHL, you should be owned and you should be started. Spezza actually got an assist today already, and they're still playing, so he may even rack up some more points. But just seeing him get another point today is just goes to show that that line is pretty good. And Seguin and Ben are not too terrible either. So look for him on your waiver. I know he's highly owned, but if he's there, I would pick him up.
Sprinkle a little Spezza in your lineup.
Yeah.
All right. Now that Eddie has his waiver forwards out there, I'm going to give you mine. The first pick that I want to go with is Mr. Bo Fasho Horvat.
For sure.
So recently he has been the only beacon of hope for Vancouver's bleak future. He's recently reached a career high in goals of 20 goals and assists with 25 assists. So that's a solid 45 points for Mr. Horvat. And, recently he's continuing this trend of, playing very well. Within this past week of when he put up 2 goals, 3 assists, a power play point, 6 shots and 3 hits. But the crazy part about this week is he had a 3-assist game in LA, which is against one of their Pacific Division rivals. So he brought his A game, which is something he's been doing all season. So there's not much more I could say about him, but just believe me when I say that
he has a great first name.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's kind of that's pretty much it. But to add on to that, I just want to let you know that Bo knows to let you know that Bo knows about Bo knowing about Bo, who knows that Bo knows how to play hockey for show. And if you didn't get all that, then replay that.
And we lost all our viewers.
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
What more could you say?
They didn't know.
They didn't know about Bo.
All right, one more forward that I want to go into. This is someone that I believe Eddie mentioned last week. And that's Richard Panik. So
I'm definitely panicking over this one.
Yeah, so
panic?
Eddie said originally not to panic. And I would say at this point you need to panic.
And pick him up quick.
And pick him up because at this point he's 50% owned. His availability has gone up 4% in the past week. So, he is not going to be on your waiver wire much longer, and there's good reason for that. He has recorded a point in 9 out of his last 11 games, which would be a total of 6 goals, 8 assists, a plus 12, 10 penalty minutes, 3 power play points, 23 shots, and 17 hits in the past month, which is all 11 of those games. So just his tremendous play has earned him consistent minutes on the first line and the first power play unit. Yeah, we're in full panic right now trying to get him off the waiver wire. So if he's there, you better pick him up. If not, then you are way too late.
Yep, and take it from me. I definitely was looking to add Panik, and now I'm panicking because Bo swiped him from me, and now I'm struggling to make playoffs still, and he would have been a great addition to have. But alas.
So once again, we are feeling very sorry for Eddie.
Yeah, of course. That just is the theme of this episode. All the sympathy, please. All the pity.
Oh, so sorry.
Come to me.
All right, so I guess I'll go into my forwards now for my wonderful waivers rancheros. And the first guy I'm going to talk about is somebody that I really personally like a lot. And I went on a little rant last time Eddie and I were watching him play, so I'm just going to get into it. Alex Burrows, who he was on the Vancouver Canucks for quite a long time, and we hated him because of that. But now that he's on the Senators, who are my third favorite team, I am so excited. Now, Burrows is 12% owned, and he plays both left wing and right wing. And since being traded to Ottawa, Burrows has 3 goals, 1 assist, a +4 rating, 6 shots on goal, and 4 hits in 3 games played. He is slotted into the top line aside Brassard and Stone, and he's also on the second power play unit. Ottawa's upcoming games this week are fantastic at Dallas, at Arizona, and Colorado. And on the season with Vancouver, yeah, those really bad Whales from up in Vancouver, Burrows put up an impressive 9 goals, 11 assists, 53 penalty minutes, 114 shots, and 44 hits. So if he's able to do that with them, I'm really excited what he's going to be doing on the rest of the season with Ottawa. So for me, if you need a left wing, right wing, especially someone on the top line next to Stone and Brassard, Burrows is a no-brainer. I can't believe he's only 12% owned.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going to talk about a shark. So, excuse me, somebody that
just one shark.
Actually, just one.
Are you
There might
sure?
be another one directly afterwards, but I'm going to talk about one right now.
Yeah, I got you.
So, Tomas Hertl, I do own him personally, and there's a reason for this. He is 34% owned in Yahoo Fantasy, and he plays center left wing. He's one of those dual players that I just love so much. So let me start off with the Sharks' schedule this week. If you need someone to, stuff your stats heading into playoffs to make sure you win this week and solidify your position, Hertl could be someone that could really help you out. The Sharks have three more home games starting this Thursday, which is tomorrow. So if you pick him up, you'll notice that on the season he has 8 goals, 10 assists, 12 penalty minutes, 2 power play points, 76 shots on goal, and 51 hits. However, he's only played 33 games this season because of injury, so that's pretty darn good. Now, he will be playing third-line center for now, but he's still on the second power play unit, so he does give you some fantasy value there. And this week, the Sharks play against Washington, Nashville, and Dallas at home, respectively. So if you need to sit him the first game, if you have someone better than him, that's totally fine. But against Nashville and Dallas, I think he is a great person to play and will get you those shots, hits, and hopefully some good points.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
next, I'm also going to talk about one shark. And now, this one, to me, how do I describe it? It doesn't seem real that he's made it this far. That he's made it out of the Benders and into another category. Now, granted, he hasn't quite made it back to the Buttes, but he may. This guy's name, Mikhail Bodker. He is 6% owned, and he is a left wing / right wing. Once again, I picked somebody that can play 2 positions. I know. Anyway, now I never thought that he would make it back to here, but in the past 5 games with his new line mates, he has had 3 goals, a +5 rating, and 13 shots on goal. And the line that I'm talking about is the line of Marleau, Couture, and Bodker. And they are tied for 10th best line in the NHL over the span of those 5 games. Will that continue? I do not know. But it's someone to definitely keep an eye on if you get a last-minute injury and you need those back-to-back games this weekend, because he will play both.
Yeah, especially the goals he's been scoring have been like snipes, too.
And they're clutch,
clutch
shorthanded
goals,
breakaways. He's doing things that before we thought he should have been doing easily early on in the season. And now that he's kind of found his stride, I'm much more comfortable talking about him. So
yeah,
keep an eye on him. Okay, well, let's move on to defensemen. What do you guys say?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just do mine real quick because it's somebody that I have talked about in the past, and he is kind of widely owned as far as defensemen that I like to talk about are. But this is Dmitry Orlov. He's only 44%, so under 50. However, the Caps have been fantastic all season long, and it's a good idea to have at least one on your squad. This campaign, Orlov has 5 goals, 24 assists, a +30 rating, 47 penalty minutes, 6 power play points, 101 shots, and 101 hits. So, if you need someone who is going to get you the same amount of shots and the same amount of hits, especially on D, which is extremely hard to find, you're not going to find somebody much better than this on your waiver wire. He's ranked 120th on Yahoo, so people, if you need a D-man, pick him up.
Yeah, that's a great pick, and you've been telling people about that for like 3 weeks now, so...
I totally have.
So it's awesome because he's just been continuing to show that he's definitely worth your waiver ad, so definitely good to have on there. Mine will be Brady Skeggy.
That sounds a little sketchy.
Sounds a little sketchy. But Brady Brady is 26% owned, and I honestly recently just saw him because Bo had him on the waivers earlier, and since then I've been kind of following him, and he's been very impressive this year. The 22-year-old kid just keeps doing it. He currently has 32 points in 66 games, but he has 10 points in his last 15. That's not bad for a rookie defenseman. His offensive production has earned him a spot on the second power play with Kreider, Zibanejad, JT Miller, and Nick Holden. He's been shooting at a big clip with 11.5 shooting percentage on 5-on-5, which is great. It's great to see. They definitely need shots to be thrown from the point, and he's been doing it for them. This next week, the Rangers have 4 road games with soft opponents like Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina, and Detroit. He will get you peripherals, he'll get you assists, and has a fair schedule going down the stretch into the playoffs. So he can earn you some critical points for your fantasy team in that span. So he's definitely a strong ad, I think. I had him for a little bit, and I had to drop him, but I wish I could have kept him because he's been continuing to produce. So there you go.
Okie dokes. So my next guy is someone that we talked about a little earlier in the trades, and that is Mark Streit.
Get straight to it, Bo.
I will. So recently, as we said, he's been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins to fill a defensive void in their back end. But recently we found out this void is the size of a black hole, as Letang, Daly, and Mata are all out with injuries, and who knows how long they'll be out for. So this automatically gives Streit duties on the second line and the second power play unit. He could also see time on the first power play unit depending on Schultz's capabilities. But he's obviously the most gifted offensive defenseman they currently own on their roster. So within his past 2 games of being a Penguin, he has been pretty successful. He has a goal, assists, a +2, a power play point, and he has 8 shots. So I mean, with Mark Streit, I would say he's definitely worth an ad. Now that he's on one of the most prolific offenses in the NHL, and one of the best power play units in the NHL, if he is still available at his current 26%, I would definitely add him. It's going to be very tough to find a solid defenseman at this point in the season, and Mark Streit could be that guy to get you over the hump during the playoffs. So he would be my defensive pickup.
Very good.
All right, boys, you guys ready to move on to the tenders?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Give me some gold. Give me some chicken tenders.
Oh, I got some extra crispy chicken tenders for you. The first guy I got for you is actually someone that I mentioned last week, and that's Andrei Vasilevsky. So I said last week I mentioned him as Bishop got traded. Now we have a little time to evaluate his performances since he got traded. And they're honestly not that bad.
Not that bad. He's been doing great.
Yeah, he's done pretty well. He was on a 3-game win streak for a little bit until he just lost to the New York Rangers, only allowing a goal though. But he's put up over 0.9 in every single one of those games. Had 3 games around a 0.97. He is stopping over 30 shots a game, if not facing even more. So Vasilevsky, he might have had a rough start to the season, but right now he's proving that he is the Lightning's future, and he has earned that role, earned that spot. So I can see him being a solid goaltender the rest of the season. Unfortunately, he's 65% owned, so there's a good chance that he might not be on your waiver wire since everyone probably scooped him once Bishop got traded.
Yeah.
But if he's still there per chance, definitely pick him up.
Good call.
So this next goalie that I'm going to get into, there's probably a better chance that he's on your waiver wire, and that is our boy Jimmy.
Jimmy John.
Jimmy John. So as Cam mentioned earlier, he's finally returning from his conditioning stint in the AHL Grand Rapid Griffins. The Red Wings didn't want to rush his return as their playoff hopes are extremely thin at this point, and they want to get him fully healthy before he plays. But now that he's back on the NHL roster, expect Howard to get a couple of starts within these next couple of games. Mainly because the Red Wings want to raise his trade value a little bit, because as the offseason comes along, they're going to have to make that decision. Do we keep Mrazek? Do we give our future to Carreau? Or, is Jimmy Howard do we need to re-sign him? But more than likely, they're going to trade Jimmy Howard, especially if he can perform these next couple of games.
Yeah.
So I would say, although Howard may not be the future goalie, that's probably Mrazek, he has been the better goaltender in Detroit and will have opportunities to reclaim his net. But, word of caution, Howard won't fix everything in Detroit, but he definitely is not going to hurt them like their other goalies have been. So
Yeah.
pick him up if you can, but he's not going to be an immediate impact player.
Yeah, very true. So, from there, I'm just going to take over and go through my waiver pick, Mr. Steve Mason. And I'm sorry, Cam, I know you like Neuwirth very much. But I'm going to start talking about Mason. He's 47% owned, so less than 50%. That's not bad. So he might be on your waiver wire. But even with Neuwirth signing or receiving a signing bonus, Mason has had a strong stand in net the past 4 games, putting up a .951 save percentage and a 1.5 goals against average in that span, including 1 shutout. Not too shabby for him. It's not an easy feat, as he has given his team a chance against the mighty Washington Capitals. He stood on his head against the explosive Florida Panthers, making 39 saves in that game. So he's been doing work recently. But Mason, I don't think will be able to maintain this pace, as he has always been known to be a streaky goalie. But chances are he might be available in your league, and with his hot play of late, he will be for sure getting the starts in Philly. And Philadelphia has some soft matchups coming up this week with Buffalo and Toronto, and then Boston will be tough, but you can look for Mason to get some starts there and hopefully get some wins too. Currently, he has won against Buffalo, so he has 1 win there, and I started him in that game, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, he's been a good pickup for me, so hopefully you can get him too and start him up.
All right, cool. I will finish just really quickly our goalies of the waivers retro section with Aaron Dell. He is only 13% owned. And he is kind of the unknown backup to Martin Jones. He has been fantastic this season, as his first season as an NHL backup, posting 9 wins, a 1.88 goals against average, and a .935 save percentage in 13 starts. He is a great tandem pickup if you already own Martin Jones, as the Sharks have 6 back-to-backs remaining. Otherwise, he may not get you as many starts as, say, Ronta or Darling, even though Darling is out with an illness at the moment. But I believe that if you have Jones, Aaron Dell is a must-grab at this point.
Yeah, can't agree more.
I might even say, this could be a little bold, but Aaron Dell is the best backup goalie in the NHL right now, or at least fantasy-wise.
I don't agree with that, but
Give me opposing names.
Ronta, Grubauer.
Fantasy-wise?
Grubauer, maybe not.
So I'm going to...
Ronta for sure.
I say fantasy-wise, I say...
Was that Cam?
Yeah. I was saying, I think numbers-wise, Dells are more impressive, but Ronta will get you more starts. So I agree with Eddie that Ronta, if you need the starts, would be better. But like I said, since I have Martin Jones, I picked up Dell, and they have just been an amazing tandem for me.
Yeah, Dell will have better stats for sure. But
yeah, just to give you guys an idea, in terms of the top backup goalies in our fantasy league scoring wise, number 1 is Scott Darling. He's currently ranked number 35, followed up by Aaron Dell, who's number 2, ranked number 38 in the league. And then there's Philip Grubauer, ranked number 51, who's number 3. And as you said before, Antti Ranta is ranked number 67, but he's number 4 in backup goalies. So that just kind of shows where the lay of the land there. But in my opinion, Dell has although he won't have the starts, he has the other stats like goal against average and save percentage that is far beyond all the other players, or other backup goalies.
No, I agree. Okay, so that wraps up our waivers retros. Let's get into the last section of today's podcast, the starts of the week. And to remind you guys, this is where we discuss with the remaining games of this week where we think you guys should pick players over other ones in your lineup to get the most value out of your personal lineup for this week. So let's start with the center position, and I'll go with my guy, Derek Brassard, who As I talked about earlier on the line with Burrows and Mark Stone for Ottawa, Broussard has been great since that line has been constructed with a 100.6 PDO and a 54.9 Corsi 4 percentage of the season, paired with the Sens' favorable matchups this week at Dallas, Arizona, and Colorado in that order. Broussard is a fantastic center play for each of those games. And I will hand it off to Eddie.
All right, I'll make it a quick one. Alex Galchenyuk is mine. Gale, of course. Gale. He's 70% owned, and it took a while, but Galchenyuk has finally found his stride again, as he has 8 points in his last 6 games. He's been doing great on his PDO is at 101, so that's pretty even. And his shooting percentage is really high at an 18.3%. But with Radulov out and the Canadians still trying to, make strides to playoffs, I would look for Galchenyuk to keep on his hot streak so they can keep him confident going into playoffs, because he's going to be a key cog in that lineup. Start him with confidence. He will get you points. That's all I got to say about that.
Gale! All right, the final center we have for you. This guy seems to be a regular in the starts of the week, and that's Brandon Dubinsky.
Oh, yeah.
The reason that I would say he's a regular is purely because the center position is so stacked. There's so many other centers you could start over him. But, he's also 28% owned, even though he's ranked number 66 on the season. The reason that he's ranked this high is not because of his 9 goals or his 25 assists or his plus 16, but it's instead because he averages 1 penalty minute per game and 3.14 hits per game on the season. So in terms of his 3.14 hits a game, that's top 10 in the leagues in hits. Wow. So you'll know that he'll be laying the body on him.
Yeah.
But the big dub, he's not the player that your team wants, but he's definitely the player your team deserves. Very few players can produce all peripheral stats while scoring goals and assists at the same time. And his next 2 games, he's playing Buffalo twice, once in Buffalo and another time in Columbus. Those are some beautiful matchups for him after they just played New Jersey Devils, and he got 2 assists in both of those games. So I would start the big dub.
Yeah.
Always start big dub.
Sounds great, especially because I have him on my team.
Ooh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on to them left-wingers. So this guy that I have for you, Cam's already touched on him in the waivers rancheros.
Oh, yeah, he touched him a lot.
Oh, he was full hands-on with this guy. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing because I admire what Cam does. So this guy is Alexander Burrows. Since being traded from Vancouver to Ottawa, Burrows has switched from Alexander the Late to Alexander the Great.
Woo!
He's led his new army to a 3-game win streak, which is good for the Senators. And in that first game, he blessed the Senators with not only his presence, but also 2 goals against Colorado. That's a pretty good debut, if you ask me.
And a 2-1 win.
Yeah, exactly. He won him that game. But unfortunately, the following game, he did not, get any points. But he followed up the 3rd game with another multi-game against Boston with a goal and an assist. So we like those stats from someone who was, just recently traded. He's one of the few players that has made an immediate impact since the trade deadline. And he's being rewarded with first-line minutes and second power play unit times. I believe Cam's already mentioned his schedule. That is a beautiful one, in fact. So I'll just say it again, but that's at Dallas, at Arizona, at Colorado. Those are 2 of the bottom teams at the end. And, a Dallas team that's struggling to play defense. So I would say Alexander the Great is a good start this week.
Yeah. Alex Ovechkin is always a good start. Oh, yeah. Burrows is a good start, too.
Never doubt.
Okay, so I'll move right on to mine. I actually have 2 for you because they're on the same team and the same line as of late. Sheary was in my waivers rancheros, as well as Gensel will now be in here. Sheary is a left wing, right wing eligible. Gensel is center, left wing eligible. 44%, 5% respectively. Ownage percentage, that is. So Pittsburgh has some great matchups coming up at Winnipeg, at Edmonton, at Vancouver. 2 of those teams are in the top 12 for goals against per game, and that would be Vancouver and Winnipeg. Recently, Kunitz has been bumped from the top line for Gensel, so they are all must-starts for this week since they're on Crosby's line, in my opinion. Pittsburgh is number 1 in goals for per game, and Crosby is really in his element playing with those skilled younglings like Sheary and Gensel, so you can be sure some points will be distributed among the top line this week. Get them in your lineup. I have Sheary in my lineup, and I'm excited to see what he'll do. And I'll move right into the right wings.
Let's let Cam do his left wing first, if
Sorry.
you're okay with that.
I suppose.
Okay,
I
so
was trying to get through him, but I guess I'll let Cam talk for once.
That's very kind
thank
of you.
you. I appreciate it. Okay, so once again, my left wing is Boone Jenner. He actually plays center and left wing, but I thought I would put him in the left wing because, well, he's Boone frickin' Jenner. He can do what he wants. If you need points, however, if you're looking for points on your team, you could probably find a better pickup than Jenner at this point. But if you need those pesky peripherals like hits and shots, Big Boone will deliver. In his last 5 games, he has compiled 17 hits and 13 shots to bring his season totals to 171 hits and 167 shots. Do you guys remember I mentioned earlier that finding somebody that does basically 1-to-1 ratio on those 2 categories is very difficult to find, especially on a regular basis, and the fact that he does this almost every game is very, very, very important. Yeah. Oh, did I also mention the Jackets play New Jersey and then Buffalo twice this week? Yeah. You might want to play
Bo might have mentioned that.
So, let's move on to the right wings, as Eddie said. I'll do mine really quick to get out of the way. It's someone I mentioned much earlier, Mikhail Bodker. I know, weird, right? Well, he's a left wing, right wing. I'm playing him in the right wing position. And as I mentioned earlier, in his past 5 games, Bodker has 3 goals, a +5 rating, and 13 shots on goal. And they have 3 more home games this week, San Jose does, against Washington, which I will say, if you want to sit him during that game, against Washington, it's always a safe bet with how they've been playing. But the following 2 home games, Nashville and Dallas, I believe Bodker is going to play very well. I believe he's going to break out the way he's been playing. And as Eddie mentioned earlier, the goals that he has been scoring have been very key snipes, shorthanded, key moments of the game. So for me, Bodker is a play this week.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. The way that Bodker has moved his way from the benders to the starts of the week. Only a few have done that. I think that's Evgeny Kuznetsov is the only one that first comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
also Jake Allen.
Jake Allen, yeah. So definitely they deserve an award of some sort. We'll figure that out in due time.
Yeah, maybe in the off season we'll hand out awards for some of the players we liked this year.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Do an award show.
Started from the bottom, and now you're somewhere.
Live!
Now you're not in the bottom
Yeah, now
anymore.
you're still not in the bottom.
California.
And the award goes to Moonlight.
La La Land.
Yeah, so
winner. Okay, let's talk about another right wing here. I already mentioned him before. Richard Panik. Eddie was panicking earlier, as he rightfully should, because this guy's on a full-on panic attack. Richard Panik has, as said before, 9 points in 9 of his last 11 games. If you want to hear his stats, rewind this real quick, because it's worth hearing again. The surprising part is his fantasy value has rivaled that of his teammates Patrick Kane, Artemian Panarin, and Jonathan Toews. He may not be like the peak point producer that they are, but he makes up for it in stuffing the stat sheet with the plus-minus, his penalty minutes, shots, and hits. That's all you could ask for someone that you can get off of the waiver wire at this point. So, he has his next 3 games at home versus Anaheim, then they're playing in Detroit, and then at home versus Minnesota. I'm not too worried about his matchups, even though he has some tough ones, because he's been playing out of his mind right now. So I would start him if you could.
yeah, totally agree. And I wish I could start him, but alas, this is the Poor Eddie podcast. So
The PEP?
yeah, the PEP, not the PBP. But yeah, so I'm going to move right into mine, which I was going to say earlier, but you guys rudely cut me off and made Cam talk. But I'm gonna put Rick Nash, Mr. Rick Nasty.
Ooh.
This might be kind of obvious. He's 76% owned, but I know he's not been having the best year. And he only has 2 points in his last 5 games. But to make it sound better, his possession and shooting metrics are extremely, extremely good and extremely sustainable. So Nash is always a very solid player. And with a player like that, I think you need to play him in the right matchups. He's very matchups based. And with the Rangers' soft schedule coming up versus Tampa Bay, Lightning, Florida, Carolina, and Detroit, I think he's going to get some points, especially with his line mates Derek Stepan and Jimmy Vesey, which he has had 45.5% of all his even strength points come from that line, and they're continuing to play well together. So start him this week against that easy lineup. Yeah, so get nasty with Mr. Rick. But I'm going to go right into the defenseman now. And one guy I've been so angry with, and that I dropped him, and of course Cam picked him up, because it's the Poor Eddie podcast, is Shane Ghost Bear. The PEP. So I'm sure Cam is excited to have Ghost Bear back. He's 79% owned. And after finally getting back on the score sheet, Ghost has gone back to haunting the score sheet with 0 points in his last 3 games.
Oh my god, what was that? Well, it wasn't Ghost Bear lighting up the score sheet, I'll tell you that much.
That's for sure. But on a positive note, he's been shooting the puck again and has been he has made a resurgence on the top power play with extremely good numbers. He has a PDO of 95.2% and a 5-on-5 shooting percentage of 4.78. Those are extremely, extremely good for defensemen. And although Gudas has been the fantasy stud this past week, I know Cam's been excited about that. That should not continue. I'm sorry, Cam. Look for Ghost to take advantage of the Flyers' nice matchups this week at Buffalo, at Toronto, and at Boston. And I would look for him to get some power play points as well. So that is my start at defense this week.
All right, let me go into mine.
My other one was the
Sketchy
again.
Never mind, go for
the
it.
Sketchy. If you need to hear again, he's back in the waivers section, but they just have such good matchups this week. You got to start all your Rangers, and including that defenseman. But sorry, I'll let Cam take over again. Sorry I interrupted you there.
No, it's all good. It's hard because I know you can't hear me. But so I will go into mine now, I think, officially, if it's my turn, to talk about who I believe will continue to be the best Flyer defenseman, and that is Radko Gudas, okay? So we all know Gudas can hit, but did you know that he could snipe?
We just saw it, Cam.
If you haven't watched the highlight, go on YouTube and look it up. Oh, wait. That was probably enough time because there was only one, and you should have found it really quickly. But you should play him this week.
There's only one.
As the Flyers play Buffalo, Toronto, and Boston on the road. On the season, Gudas has collected 4 goals, 14 assists, 63 penalty minutes, 93 shots, and, wait for it, 228 hits. Damn. So, for me, if you're looking for an all-around great defenseman who is much better than anyone Eddie picks, go with Radko Gudas.
Fair enough.
What a stud.
After seeing that snipe, I kind of want to just take off all the other defensemen on our starts of the week.
That would do justice right there. Go do it for Gudas.
The Gouda cheese.
All right. Well, if if you're not fortunate enough to have Gudas in your lineup, I guess I'll give you another start,
an alternative.
Yeah, not as impressive, obviously, but this next start, he won't be as confusing to follow as a knuckle puck, you would say, but he instead will go straight to the top titty. That's Mark Streit.
Oh man,
Mark Streit has some big shoes to fill for the Penguins right now. But he's completely capable of filling them. As we mentioned before, Pittsburgh has some major holes in their defensive core right now, and this just gives Stride a grand opportunity to show his offensive prowess. He has 4 shots in each of his 2 games since he's been a Penguin, and so I would say if he keeps on, firing 4 shots a game, eventually the puck will go into the net, and, that's all you can ask for with him. So, as we said before, his next games are at Winnipeg, at Edmonton, at Vancouver. Mark Streit would be a solid defenseman to play if you don't have Radko Gudas, because Radko Gudas is obviously the best defenseman in the league. So, we like that around here.
Hell yeah.
Alright, that should be the end of our defensemen, even though we could have kept it at one name. We'll move on to some goaltenders instead. So this next guy I have for you is, it's Craig Anderson. And I kind of want to give you an origin of the word Craig. So, I know at least within our friend group and other people we know, the word Craig, the name Craig, usually describes a scrub.
Mm.
Honestly, it's below a scrub, is what a Craig is. And Craig Anderson is not that.
He's reinventing the Craig name.
He is definitely reinventing it. He could be called King Craig. The way that he's, leading the Craigs to a whole different lifestyle.
He's giving them a better name, giving them a better life.
He is. Not only is he, giving the Craigs a better life, but his wife is having a better life too, watching him perform so well. So,
yep.
Hats off to Craig Anderson. He's currently on a 4-game win streak with a 1.5 goal against average, a .948 save percentage. And if you didn't think that 4-game win streak was good enough, he's also won 6 of his last 7 games with a 1.86 goal against average and a .942 save percentage. I mean, obviously, he's a borderline must-start at this point, especially with Ottawa's favorable schedule. But I would also kind of say, with their next 3 games at Dallas, at Arizona, and at Colorado, there's a good chance that Condon will get a start for one of those games. So if you have him, definitely start him for that game, because the Senators are playing really well since the trade deadline, and they could thank Craig Anderson for that one. The Craig that's not a Craig.
Yeah, totally agree with that Craig pick. All right, I'll go into mine. It's someone I mentioned earlier last week, honestly, it might be a little too late at this point. But I just want to re-mention Antti Ranta, 25% owned. Like I said, it might have come a little too late because every 4 games he'll get a start. So what I did is I saw that he didn't start the 4 games that Heinrich did, and he was for sure going to get the start this Monday. Picked him up, played him, and he got me the shutout. So don't ever doubt Ranta. If he's on your waiver, or if you even own Lundqvist, you got to add Ranta. He's a great spot start down the stretch, and I think you can really rely on him for a solid performance and in your playoffs or whatever you're going for your fantasy team. So we'll just let Cameron finish us out now.
All right, so my goalie is going to be another backup, Aaron Dell, that we talked about earlier. Just to reiterate really quickly, his stats in his rookie year as a backup are 9 wins, 1.88 goals against average, and a .935 save percentage in 13 starts. And this week, the Sharks have a back-to-back game set against Nashville and Dallas, so expect Dell to start at least one of those games, and you are probably going to get yourself a great save percentage and goals against average, and hopefully the win. And that does it, I think, for the Puck Buddy podcast, or the Poor Eddie podcast today. Here on out.
I think we really need to consider a name change, guys.
Well, you know what? I was hoping, Bo, that you were going to be the one that was, having a hard time, because it's already PBP.
Yeah.
You make a very good point, Cam, but I think the PEP just rolls off the tongue so naturally.
No, you know what's way easier than you two, or than like us switching the name of our podcast, would be if you two just legally switched names. That would just make it so much easier.
I think we need to start working up the paperwork for that.
Why switch when we could all be Bo? You too, Cam. Let's all be Bo.
Whatever it takes to get into the
Everyone's
playoffs, boys.
Everyone's Bo. Bo is the new dude. What's up, Bo? What's up, Bo? Yo, look at that Bo.
Yo, Bo.
No,
Yo, Bo.
I really hope we're still recording.
Oh.
Yeah, we are.
We could be. But
Okay, good. Well, enjoy the rest of the fantasy weeks until playoffs, guys, and we will see you next episode.
goodbye from the PEP.
Sing for the year. Sing away.